Alexander Folk, welcome to the Chad Silveus Show.
I really appreciate it. Been looking forward to this.
Hey, it's my pleasure. You are best known as an actor who starred in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but you've been in so much more. You've been in other films like Sid and Nancy, Dreamgirls, and you've been on countless television shows, which I want to ask you about as well. With regards to Christmas Vacation, which is, your most famous role, you're in a movie where there are so many classic lines that are spoken, but you have one of the most classic lines. Now, I'm sure you've been asked this before. Can you say your line?
I would love to. That's pretty low, mister. If I had a rubber hose, I would beat you. A point of just a little information. That line was not in the script originally.
That was going to be my second question. Was that line ad-libbed, or how did that work?
What happened? People tell me a lot of people tell me it's their most famous line in the whole movie. They love it more than any of the other lines, a lot of them. What happened, Jeremiah, the director, he didn't feel that scene was working that I was in at the end. He didn't feel it was working, so he had us all sitting around in our chairs and throwing out lines, and Chevy Chase gave me that line. He said, Alex, when I say this, why don't you say, hey, look, if I had a rubber hose, I would beat you. And I did it, and it became very famous. I was actually on the Navajo Indian reservation. And I didn't realize where I was. And I noticed, I looked around, I was buying some gas, and I looked around, and everybody around me was Native Americans. I was in a convenience store, and I got up to the counter, and the guy looked at me and he said, are you in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? I said yes, and it was about 10 people in the store buying sodas or whatever. I had to take selfies with them and sign autographs and everything. I found out that day the Indians on the Navajo Indian Reservation is crazy about Christmas. They are crazy about Christmas Vacation.
Well, that movie it's reached legendary status, and like you said, I agree with you. Your line is one of the most famous lines, if not the most recognizable line from it. Now, can you go in public, like a gas station, and be recognized and people not ask you to say that line?
No, I can't. I can't. You are absolutely right. I cannot.
Now, does that bother you at all?
No, I love it. I love it to be recognized and to have delivered a line that is still goes on. And that line is still, people go crazy over that line to this day. People tell me they watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 15 times a Christmas season. And I found out, this friend of mine emailed me, and he told me there is a bar in Chicago, the Houndstooth in Chicago. And I think November through, if there's a period, I don't remember the period, it may be beginning in Christmas, they convert their Houndstooth bar into National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. They said the part of the bar is made into Chevy Chase's living room, the Griswolds' living room, and Cousin Eddie's, a replica of Cousin Eddie's RV is out front, and they have contests and stuff. It is amazing. The Houndstooth Bar in Chicago, I think during the Christmas season, it's called a pop-up bar, and it's made in I think Chevy Chase kitchen and everything is in the back. I haven't been there, but I understand it's made up just like Christmas Vacation. Amazing.
Well, that's how legendary this movie has become.
Yes.
How do you explain the success of that film?
I guess the only thing I can put into it, my theory would be, is we had so much fun making it, is when you have fun, I just believe it transferred onto the film, and it just has lived on and on. As a matter of fact, I'm living in Tucson, and this friend of mine who I'm going to be on tour with, he's Kyle Ramsden, who's producing this screening, and I'm going to be, I have a question and answer after the screening Christmas Vacation here in Tucson at the screening room in downtown Tucson on the 21st of December. And at the screening room, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna have a question and answer, but that film is just so amazing. It has a life of its own, and I'm proud to have the question and answer here in Tucson, and I love it. It's just lives on and on. And also, I'm going to be going on tour with Kyle, who does he's a YouTube star, Kyle Ramsden. Kyle Rocks One. He's doing all on tour and everything, and he's taking me part of Christmas Vacation with him on a world tour. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know that's becoming more and more popular, having screenings than having some of the actors there to answer questions. That's a really great idea. You know, it gets the fans to be able to get connected to someone like yourself. You know, a fan gets to ask all sorts of questions. That movie, I've watched it 1,001 times, and that's probably an understatement. I had it on VHS. I mean, I broke the VHS tape. I watched it so much. Now I have it on DVD.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would, like, if I were there at the screening, I would ask you things. I'd want to know, like, inside information. Like, when you filmed that, you said that you guys had so much fun. Who did you enjoy working with the most on set?
Now, that is going to be difficult. I would say me and Cousin Eddie had a blast. Randy Quaid, he was just as much. He was almost as mad in a good way. I don't mean like mad. I mean a madhouse kind of a guy as Cousin Eddie. I mean, he actually, I think, became Cousin Eddie on that set. He was just a lot of fun. And Beverly D'Angelo and I, she was really nice to me. She actually came to me and she told me how much she appreciated working with me and how she had enjoyed me. And I thought that was a highlight for me, for Beverly D'Angelo to come over to me, who I've enjoyed in all of her films outside of Being a Beautiful Lady. For her to come up and tell me that she enjoyed me and my work was also a highlight. And Chevy Chase also, he was a nice guy. It was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun. And do you know what I did not notice, as someone told me, that Chevy Chase's children, he never had the same set of children in any of the movies. I didn't realize that.
No, he didn't. I actually saw an interview with Chevy Chase, and he addressed that, and he said he thinks that's the funniest part of the film series, is that the kids were never the same.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and you know what the other revelation I just had? I just found out about 5 months ago who a lot of my dialogue was with. I did not realize the gentleman that I said, "Hey, that's pretty low, mister. If I had a rubber hose, I would beat you." I did not realize who I was actually talking to. I did not realize that was Chevy Chase's boss was Bill Murray's brother. I did not know that.
Yeah, he's one of the Murray brothers. So when did you say you figured that out?
About 5 months ago. I was talking to a guy and he said, "Oh yeah, you know, and Bill Murray's brother." I said, whoa, wait a minute. And then I thought, wait a minute, he looks just like Bill Murray. He sounds like Bill Murray. And I realized it was Brian Doral Murray. Did not realize that was Bill Murray's brother. I could not believe that. I was really amazed. I didn't know all these years.
He was also in Caddyshack. I think he's also in Wayne's World.
Yes, right.
Now, that's the thing. As an actor, you know, you see everything that the audience doesn't see behind the scenes when it's being filmed. Is there something like, you know, not necessarily like shocking, but is there something like you never would have guessed that happened on the set, or, you know, something that's not well known that happened during the filming that you'd like to share?
You know, that is a really good question. Oh, wow, that is so amazing. I had so much fun on that set because everybody was so nice. This may be something happened that people don't know. That house that Chevy Chase was putting the lights up on, it was not a house at all. It was that whole neighborhood was on the back lot of Warner Brothers Studios. They snowed in that whole neighborhood, and it was just the front. It was not a house at all. And the house where the tree falls through the window, and the house next door where the tree falls through the window where the couple was living. I don't know if this is giving away Hollywood secrets at all, but that was that house where the couple lived next door where the tree fell through the window. That was Danny Glover's house in Lethal Weapon that they were living in.
No way. So it was a house that it was on the lot that they used before?
Yes. That was Danny Glover's house in Lethal Weapon next door where that tree falls through the window. Yes.
I appreciate you giving away Hollywood secrets. Now, I want to talk about Chevy Chase real quick, and then I want to ask you about some other things that don't relate to Christmas Vacation. When you worked with Chevy Chase, like, I'm a big fan of Chevy Chase. I always have loved his comedy. I've loved his films. But I have heard that certain people that work with him don't necessarily gel with him. How do you feel about that?
Do you know, I have heard that so much. And it's funny you bring that up. I hear that all the time. I really do. And I have to say, Chevy Chase was wonderful with me. Now, I got to admit, I only worked with, I was on the film for 2 weeks. We work all nights. And for the 2 weeks, he was wonderful with me. I didn't see anything that other people have asked me about or said that Chevy Chase wasn't the nicest of individuals. But he was really nice to me. He really was.
See, without being an actor and without ever working with Chevy Chase, obviously, I don't know what happened. But I get the impression that his humor may be something that not everybody understands. So maybe people think he comes across as a jerk when he's just...
Yes, I would absolutely agree with that. I would totally agree with that.
You mentioned that you're going on you're going to do a tour of some sort. You're going to do some screenings of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You're going to be there to like answer questions from fans. Now, you mentioned that you're doing it with a YouTube star named, what was his name, Kyle?
His name is Kyle Ramsden, but his YouTube name is Kyle, Kyle, Multi-Kyle Rocks #1. Multi-Kyle Rocks 1. He's all over the internet.
Because I saw a video of you on YouTube, which I thought was the most hilarious thing. It's you going to Chick-fil-A. Is that with Kyle?
Oh, yes. Oh, well, no. When I was going into Chick-fil-A, no, that's not Kyle. That was another gentleman that I met that was doing a little podcast. But Kyle, he does some pretty strange pranks on the internet, and like I said, he's a YouTube star, and he's doing a world tour. Starting in Seattle, and I'm actually going with him. He's bringing a little Christmas vacation kind of with him on his world tour. It's like I said, he's called Multi-Kyle Rocks 1, Multi-Kyle Rocks 1 on the internet. And he's producing the screening that his company, Ramsden Productions, is producing the screening that we're having of Christmas Vacation here in Tucson on the 21st of December. So I'm doing that. And we're also getting ready to film a Christian Western in Tucson here if you go to AvondalePictures.com and click on the Righteous 12 and find out more. It's a Christian Western, which I think is the first one ever, to my knowledge. There's been Christian films, but I don't know of a Christian Western. But this is a Christian Western called The Righteous 12, and Dean Cain is in it from this TV show Lois and Clark back in the 80s, and Richard Pryor Jr. is in it. And I didn't even know Richard Pryor had a junior. I knew he had a daughter, Rain, who I met when she was small. Because Richard Pryor and we did Brewster's Millions in New York. But yeah, that's the Christian Western, like I said, that you go to AvondalePictures.com and click on the Righteous 12 and learn more about it. And that should be very interesting, the Christian Western.
Well, that's right up my alley. I love family films. I love Christian films. My family and I watch a lot of Christian films, actually. And I know a lot of those people you mentioned in it. That's awesome. I can't wait to check that out. I was not aware of that. And I'm not aware of a Christian Western. But I'll search for Kyle's YouTube channel. I'm not actually that much of a YouTuber. I will say, when I was on YouTube and I saw the video of you and with that one gentleman trying to get free chicken from Chick-fil-A, I laughed my head off. What's the backstory on that?
Well, what happened? That gentleman, I can't remember his name. I went to a movie theater in I think it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, I was living in Charlotte at the time, and I went to a movie theater and I started talking to this guy, and he was saying, "Hey, I do a YouTube. I have a YouTube blog," and he wanted to interview me, and we started interviewing, and he was interviewing me on his blog, and we was talking about Christmas Vacation, and he said, and all of a sudden on the blog, he said, "Let's go to lunch." So he decided to film us going to lunch, and we're talking about on the blog where to go, and we're in the car driving, and he's filming, and we ended up at Chick-fil-A trying to get free chicken because I had a Chick-fil-A commercial running for 6 years. It did very well for 6 years. I don't know if you may have seen the commercial. I was a security guard in this guard shack at night, and I hear this music. I'm reading the newspaper, and I hear this music in the commercial. And so I put down a newspaper, and I'm shining a little flashlight around these warehouses to find out where this music is coming from. So I roll up the door of this warehouse, and the warehouse is full of cows in there having a party. The disc jockey cow is playing the music, and hundreds of cows are in there dancing. And when I roll up the door, the cows stop dancing, and the cows are looking at me, and I'm looking at the cows, and the disc jockey cow looks at me as if to say, "Bust it." And it was, so I caught the cows dancing, and it was, they were dancing because everybody was eating chicken and not beef. And the cows were having a party. And that commercial ran for 6 years. And we were talking about it when we were going to lunch during the blog. And we decided to go to Chick-fil-A and try to get some free chicken because I was in this commercial. But yeah, that was fun. That's the story of how that happened. It just happened on the spur of the moment.
Well, I watched that YouTube video over and over again. It's hilarious. You have to see it. Go on YouTube, check it out. Just, I just put Alexander Folk into the YouTube search engine, but it's so hilarious. Now, it was kind of murky, but they said they're going to give you free chicken, but they ended up not giving you free chicken. Is that right?
Right. Exactly, because what happened, I think the lady at the window, she said yeah, and then some kind of way the manager came out or something. I don't think he believed us or whatever, and we didn't get it. But that's how it turned out.
What I love about that video is that it shows your humor. You're hilarious. You're like one of those people. Like if you knew in real life, I'm sure like everybody's around you, like they're laughing and they got pains in their side from laughing so much. You just got this way about you.
You gotta have fun, because life is amazing. People try to make life difficult, but life is extremely simple. If you have something you think is a problem and you can fix it, what's the problem? Cut to the chase and fix it. Don't spend a thousandth of a second screaming and yelling and getting mad at people. If you can fix it, fix it. And if you have something you think is a problem and you can't fix it, what's the problem? You can't fix it anyway, so sit down and shut up. And when you have something, when anybody has something they think is a problem, the only thing we have to do is figure out which category it fits in. Does it fit into I can fix this category, or does it fit into the I can't fix this category? And once you get the category, you figure out the category it fits in, act accordingly. It's simple. Life is extremely simple. There are problems in life, but not as many as we would like to think. We create our own problem.
I like your way of thinking. It's very wise, and I agree. And I think that life life is not only simple when you analyze it, but it's the simple things in life that bring joy and reward. And speaking of which, I've got a beautiful 9-year-old little girl named Violet. And whenever I have a guest on my show, she always wants to ask them one question. I call the segment One Question with Violet. Would you mind her asking you a question?
That would be one of the greatest things in life. I love this. Yes, please. Yes.
Let me step out of the studio and grab her. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yes, please. This is great.
Okay, Alexander, I have got my beautiful little girl, 9-year-old Violet, and here is one question with Violet.
Hello, Violet.
How many times have you actually beat somebody with a rubber hose?
I love you. I love you. Violet, that is the very first time I have ever been asked that question. You would think over all these years, somebody would have asked me that before. People have asked me, do I have a rubber hose? Or they've said the line to me, but no one has ever asked me how many times have I beaten anyone with a rubber hose. And Violet, I gotta tell you, I'm thinking about doing it now, but I have never done that. But because of you, Violet, I think I'm going to find someone to gently. I'm going to do it gently. But I might beat somebody with a rubber hose. That was so, thank you, Violet. That was really you're the first one that ever asked me that. I love that. Thank you. That is beautiful. I love it.
Alexander, I must tell you, as she's walking out of the studio, she's wiping tears away from her eyes from laughing so hard.
That is so amazing. That you would think somebody would have asked me that, but they've gone all about the question.
It takes a mind of a 9-year-old to think of a question like that.
Absolutely. But life is extremely simple. It's simple.
Well, she's one of my simple joys in life, Alexander, and
absolutely. I bet.
What about you? Do you have any children?
Well, you know, I have one biological son, but I have been taking care of Korean and Vietnamese kids. I didn't adopt them, but they kind of, the Korean kids, they didn't have a dad, and so I kind of guide. I was kind of a guide for them for like about 30 years, and then this Vietnamese family, the kids, they had a dad, but they would come to me for fatherly things because I was a little older than their dad, and I think they felt that I had a little more worldly knowledge, so I kind of pretty much raised them. So I have one biological son, but I have a few Vietnamese and Korean kids that I raised. As a matter of fact, one of my Korean kids graduated from Yale in the 2000. So that was kind of nice.
Well, that's amazing, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of that.
No, I would be too. It's very admirable, and and like in today's day and age, people become so self-centered. It seems very easily, and
and the kids. I mean, if the kids need something, they have it, and it's not about this is not your kid. It's not my kid. It's your no. All kids are our kids. It's if kids need something. I mean, down to my life, if they need it, they can have it in a thousandth of a heartbeat. The kids can have it, whatever they need. I'm going to see to it that they have it. If it's within my power and I can see it, a need that the kids have, I'm gonna do it down to my life. If they need it, they can get it. Anything for the kids, man. It's about the kids. It is about the kids. Yeah.
That's too cool. Let me ask you one more Hollywood question, but it's not about Christmas Vacation. You have been in a ton of TV shows. I love TV, probably a little bit too much. I watch too much TV, I admit it. But I love, TV from all different decades, especially from the 20th century decades. I love TV shows from the 80s, and you were in some awesome TV shows in the 80s. Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I think that made it in the 80s. It could have been early 90s. I'm not sure.
It was 80s. It was 80s, yeah.
Out of all the 80s TV shows that you worked on, what was your favorite and why?
One of my favorites was absolutely Columbo. I did there was three things I've always wanted to do before I retired. And I retired, but now I'm doing this Western, and I'm going to be working with a film company in Los Angeles. They want to do one of my ideas and be in one of their films. But anyway, that's another story. But before I retired, I wanted to do a James Bond movie, filming all over the world. Never got to do a James Bond movie. And I wanted to do a Western. And now that I'm in Tucson, we're about to shoot a Christian Western. And I wanted to do an episode of Columbo. I love that show. And I finally did an episode of Columbo before I retired. And Peter Falk was wonderful. And I did 7 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. I only worked with Angela Lansbury in 2 of the episodes. But Angela Lansbury, once you've seen Jessica Fletcher on Murder, She Wrote, you've seen Angela Lansbury. She is the nicest, the most wonderful. When you're in the presence of Angela Lansbury, it's just class just oozes out all through her pores. It's like it's almost like you're in the presence of the Queen. Angela Lansbury has this aura about her that you are in the presence of the Queen. And it was just amazing to work with her. She was really a highlight of me being in the movie business, to work with her. She just the nicest, the most congenial, loving, just queen lady. She's just amazing. She's just amazing. And one of my craziest actors I've worked with was Leslie Nielsen. Did Naked Gun 2.5. That man was a nut. He was insanely wonderful. He said something. He told me something that after his first Naked Gun came out, because Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor back in like the 60s and late 50s, early 60s. He was he played a murderer a couple of times, and he was good. But he told me after his first Naked Gun movie came out, he said they would never cast him in another serious role. He was just typecast as Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun movies, and he did a great job. He was wonderful. He was really a blast to work with. And Brad Pitt was really nice. I did 2 films with Brad Pitt. I did a movie called Cutting Class with Brad Pitt before he became Brad Pitt. And I did a TV movie called Too Young to Die with Brad Pitt. And I noticed Brad Pitt was being interviewed after, I think he did Thelma and Louise. He was just becoming the Brad Pitt that he is today. He was being interviewed by Barbara Walters. And Barbara Walters said, well, now that you're a star, every movie star has done films they wish they hadn't done. And he said, well, Brad, what is yours? What are one of the films you've done that you wish you hadn't done? And he said, well, I did this movie called Cutting Class I wish I hadn't done. And I was thought to myself, wait a minute, Brad, that's the movie we did together. I'm proud to have worked in that movie. But Brad Pitt said he wished he had never done the movie. One of the movies we worked together on, and that was kind of funny. But Brad was really nice to work with too. And Jamie Foxx, he tried to give me a TV series. I worked on his show, and Cuba Gooding and Cuba Gooding Jr., we always wanted to work together, but we never got a chance to. But yes, and you're working in the movie business for so long. Like I've been in the movie business about 50 years, and I've worked with some really, 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 really great guys. I literally would have sold aluminum cans and pop bottles to be in the movies. I would have paid to be in the movies. It was just a blast. I loved it, every second of it. And to do something you love is amazing.
It sounds like your acting career has been extremely rewarding. It sounds like you've had a lot of fun and you've made a lot of people laugh on your own accord. If you could go back in time and talk to a younger Alexander Folk and give him advice, would you tell your younger self, stay on this route, become an actor, or would you tell yourself to do something different?
I wouldn't change anything. I would say get back on this road and do it. I would be an actor 700 million times over. As a matter of fact, I wrote actually 2 books. They're on the back. Well, they don't you don't have my card, I don't think, but they're on outskirtspress.com, and you can Google them. My name and then Google my books. One of them is called, it's only 46 pages. It's called Go Home, A Guide to Achieving Your Goals While Dealing with Life's Inconveniences. And the other one is called Women, God's Second Greatest Gift to Humanity, which is only 36 pages. But in my book, Go Home, it's all about how simple God made life. We complicate life. But what I'm teaching in schools, one of the many things I'm teaching in schools, which is in the book, Go Home, is how simple it is to find a career that you love so much. You may think about paying them for allowing you to do that career, but no one knows how to look within themselves to find a career. We look in the newspaper, we fill out applications, we look at the money. Oh, this job pays 15 cents more a week. Oh, this pays $100 more a week. Without one thought whether that job is going to kill you in a week or whether you're going to come home and want to beat the kids because you're stressed, they look at the money. And my dad was a perfect example of what I'm trying to teach people, how easy it is to avoid, because up to 98% of the world's population are stuck in jobs they hate, but it's paying the bills. My dad had it down to the day. My dad spent 37 years, 6 months, and 19 days on a job he hated. He hated every thousandth of a second of it. But he was making enough money to take care of the mortgage, my mother, and me and my 3 brothers. So he was stuck. But he hated his job because no one knows how to look within themselves to find a job they love. So up to 98% of the world are stuck in jobs they hate. So people that are in jobs they hate, they get some of the money from the jobs they hate, and they buy some of the things they love. Well, why not make the money at what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life? You will love it. You will pay to go to work, kind of thing. And it's not a work. I shouldn't say work. It's an employment. It's employment, but it's not work. I literally would have paid them to be in the movies for 50 years. And that's what people don't know how to do, is find a career that they love that much. But one of the many things in my 46-page book, Go Home, A Guide to Achieving Your Goals While Dealing with Life's Inconveniences, it shows you how simple it is to find a career that people love. But people don't know how to do it. How many kids spend thousands and thousands of their parents' dollars and years in college to get a job? And they come out and get that job and they go, what am I doing? I hate this job. Because no one knows how to look within themselves. But basically, Go Home, the book is about how simple God made life. And we complicate it. It's amazing, totally amazing.
Well, Alexander, it sounds like you have so much more to offer than just entertaining people, making them laugh, which...
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then. Are there multiple websites? Is there one main website? Where can people go and get all of your stuff or find out more about what you're doing?
Well, my books are on Amazon. They're outskirtspress.com books. Like I said, I'm going on tour with Kyle, and we got that Christmas vacation thing in Tucson, and then I'm working with this film company in Los Angeles. I said I was going to put all this together in my website, and I haven't done it yet. I'm on imdb.com, but that shows all of my stuff that I've done. But my upcoming stuff, it's not in one place, and that is a significant error on my part that I really need to correct.
Do you have like a social media account, like a Facebook page where fans can get in touch with you?
Yes, and this is another thing. I'm on Facebook, and I very seldom go there. These kids put me on Facebook, and I go there every now and then. Like, I'm not a computer savvy guy, but I do go on Facebook, but not much. But my email, I do answer my emails quite a bit. every day, as a matter of fact.
I believe that technology is a double-edged sword. Like, I don't even own a cell phone. I've not spoken on a cell phone in 8 years. So, like, there's good things about technology. There's bad things. I don't think it's necessary, and it doesn't make life more simple. And, we're talking about simplicity of life. Technology does not make things more simple.
It can make it difficult because I think technology, we make it so easy. Everything is supposed to be easy now. As a matter of fact, one of the things about how life is easy and we complicate it, like which is in my book, Go Home. This actually happened. I was in a restaurant about maybe 15 years ago, and I'm eating at a table, and maybe 2 feet over, there's another table, and there's a mother, a father, and about a 4-year-old boy. So the 4-year-old boy, his hand couldn't handle a whole piece of toast, so his father gave him a piece of toast. And when his father gave him that piece of toast, that little boy hit the ceiling and threw the worst temper tantrum in the world. I really believe this kid was so mad. If he was older than 4 years old, he probably would have burned that restaurant down. He was so mad with his father giving him that piece of toast, piece of toast. His dad had to take him outside. He was outside for about 20 minutes, and you could hear the kid screaming and yelling. I found out why that little kid was so mad. And you want to talk about making things difficult. This kid was so mad and wanted to burn the world down because when his dad gave him that piece of toast, he didn't put any jelly on it. And that kid was so mad. I literally believe he would have burned that place down. He was so mad. Now,
well, I think that's a metaphor for life.
Exactly. That's right. That is what people do. People will look at us as adults, will look at that little kid and we will say, oh, that is so crazy. I would never do that. But if we look back, now that we're mature, if we look back on some of the things we got mad about, and we may not have to look back until 5 minutes earlier, but if we look back on some of the things we got mad about, they were probably as simple as no jelly on toast.
No, I think you're right, and I think you summed it up. I think honestly, since having you on the show, I've realized that you're a beacon of wisdom on top of being very entertaining and hilarious. Now, Alexander Folk, thank you so much for coming on the Chad Silveus Show, and I would ask you if you could please come back sometime soon, because I'd love to hear more of your wisdom.
Anytime. I literally mean that. Anytime. And tell your daughter, please tell her thank you for that question. I'm going to remember that the rest of my life. I really am. I kid you not. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless.